Hello everyone, so welcome to today's video. We are doing a full face of E.L.F. products. I have some new things that I recently shared in a haul video. One of their foundation products that I have been curious about, and I've never tried an E.L.F. foundation product before. So we're going to try that. We're going to try their new Flawless Brightening Concealer. I've got some new brow products, setting powder, a new eyeshadow palette, and then I'm plugging in a bronzer and a blush that I have used previously that I have recommended, so also from E.L.F. So if you want to see how to do this kind of cool tone, grayish, purpley with a pop of like a dual chrome color in the inner corner, very interesting the way the look came out. And the pops of purple on the lower lash line I think adds some interest to the look and definitely brings out the brown eyes. So if you want to see how I did this look, then just keep watching. For primer, I'm going to start with the Puff Puff Primer. This is the one that has the hemp-derived canvas sativa in it, and this came in a skincare set that I ordered from them. Have not even tried the line of their CBD products. I've used the oil that's for the face. I've used it on my hands. So I'm going to try this, and it's just your standard kind of creamy looking primer. It says it on the back to apply a small amount to clean skin. Blend prior to makeup application to prep skin. So I think that amount is good. There's not really much of a scent to it. It smells actually pretty clean. It feels a little bit thick, so I feel like I need to go back with just a little bit more to add it to my forehead area, blend it under eyes. They did come out with some new like correcting concealer type of products. The Flawless Brightening Concealer, and I have it in the shade Fair 15W, and I should have just ordered the first color, which was more pink, and I felt looking back that probably would have been more of a brightening, so I'm going to use this. It's a pen form. You click it at the bottom. Haven't even done that yet. But what I'm most excited about, I think, is the actual foundation. This has a lot of good ratings. This is the Flawless Satin Foundation. It's oil-free with medium coverage, and this has really good ratings online, and I've always kind of thought, how are their foundation and complexion products? I have not, I don't think, ever used a foundation from E.L.F., and I have it in the shade 120 Pearl, and it says neutral undertone, so hopefully this is the right match. I haven't even taken off the seal. That's how new this is. We're gonna just go for it. Seal has been broken. Okay, so I feel like I have probably too much. So I'm gonna just, hope this matches. I think this is way too much. So I'm gonna take the rest of it and put it onto my neck, and hopefully this doesn't oxidize. And there is a bit of a scent that I'm getting from this, but it's very light. Well, and the color is light. So I think this is going to be a little too light. Should have just gone maybe up one more. Well, that's the thing when you buy foundations online. It's kind of hard, but this one's set for fair with neutral undertones, which is what I go for. Love that for me. Besides the obvious it being really light, it does have pretty good coverage. I don't really particularly care for the scent of it though, so that's my thing. The next thing is their concealer. This is the Brightening Concealer, so I have to do a couple little clicks to get this to come up. Finally, we're getting somewhere. Is it enough? Maybe not. Whoa. Okay, maybe that's too much. So I'm going to just add this here and see. And then I'm just going to use the pointed side of my sponge to blend this in. You know what's funny? I actually have their Camel Concealer, in the original packaging that I bought, I think last year, and I found it in my concealer drawer. So my question is, would you guys use it? It's never been used, still in its original packaging, but it's been 14 months. I bought that in September of last year. Should I use it? Should I stay away? Order a new one? Let me know. Alright, so this actually blended in quite nicely. I do feel like it's a very light coverage. I wouldn't say it's full coverage, but this could be one of those products that you use first for brightening and then go over it with something a little bit more full coverage if that's what you desire for the day. I think I'm just going to leave it. I'm using my left hand and blending with my right. I think I'm just going to leave it and see how it works throughout the day. I feel like I think I need a little bit more right in through here. See if I can build up this coverage. You do have to click it quite a bit though. Once you use it on one eye, you have to click it again for the second eye. The thing with these kinds of packaging is that you don't really know how much you have left until you actually run out. So that's the downside of these types of like pen type of things that aren't clear or have a clear window to show you what amount of product you have left. But besides that, if I look closely, it is blending quite nicely. Now my skin is dry. I didn't put, I feel, enough moisturizer on last night. I was so tired, tossing and turning. I'm done. And I just slapped on a little bit of moisturizer and then I went to bed instead of putting my oils and just slathering my face in oils. So that's a big mistake because the foundation is clinging to a couple areas of dryness, but again, I'm gonna say that that's mostly my skin, not so much the foundation. I'm gonna set my face a little bit, so I'm gonna use the Halo Glow Setting Powder in medium, just lightly. I've talked about this before and I love this stuff. It's so good. I like the fact that they give you a sifter and then a twist cap where you can actually prevent loss of product and messes. So that's gonna be the one that I use on my face. And then I'm gonna use this one, which is brand new. This is the light pink, and I just got this with my order recently, and this one I got specifically for brightening the under eye areas. Alright, so with a big fluffy brush, I'm going to go in with the Halo Glow powder and just lightly set my face before I go in with my bronzer. And then a little bit of that pink one with a smaller brush, and that's going to be my under eye. Let's see, I don't know if it's going to really make a major difference. It's a very soft, light pink shade, but it might actually work just to kind of set the under eye area. Fine. And so now we have to move on to bronzer, and I'm going to use my Forever Sunkissed. This is the Primer Infused Bronzer, and I'm going to need a lot of this. And I'm going to go back in with that same fluffy brush that I used to set my face, and I'm going to go to town here. So bringing back some color. Okay, so I feel like I'm good to go with bronzer, and as I am blending, my chin is looking not so great. So this foundation, you probably have to really set your skin in the best place possible before going in with it, because it's like kind of starting to separate a little bit, and I haven't had it on for very long, so I feel like by the end of the day this isn't going to look very good. So we'll see. I still have my hopes up. For blush, I'm going to use the Primer Infused Blush in Always Punchy, which looks like this, and it's a soft peach color. And as I have blended product over my face, you can see my imperfections and my scars starting to peek through. So the foundation, I feel like, doesn't have a whole ton of longevity, I don't think. So we'll see. I'll be really impressed if it doesn't get worse than this. And I feel like I have way too much blush. Good job. Go back in with my beauty sponge and soften this. Okay, so for brows, I have been loving the Instant Brow Lift Pencil. It's a $2 brow pencil. I have talked about this before. I have it in the darkest shade, which is deep brown. And I'm going to use this one. I ordered the neutral brown, but I still have some product left here, so I'm going to finish this off before going in with the new one. And I'm going to just do my brows as I normally do. And I most likely am going to fast forward or cut some of this out because this gets kind of redundant doing it in every single video. In my little collection of new products from E.L.F, I got the Wow Brow, and this is in the shade Brunette, and this one is a tinted brow gel with some fibers, so we're going to see how this works. I'm not going to use too much just because I have quite a full-on brow with the Instant Lift Pencil, which is pretty awesome and amazing for $2. So I'm going to just lightly go over it, because looking at the color on the spoolie, this one seems to pull quite warm, this tone of Brunette. So just a little bit. I would have to try this on its own to see how much pigment it actually has, but I do feel like I need a little bit more hold right on the outer part of my brow with some of the clear brow gel right through here. Okay, so I don't have an eyeshadow primer from E.L.F, so I'm going to use one that's affordable. I'm going to use Milani. And then I'm going to go in with some eyeshadows. Now this is something that I'm also very interested in trying. So I'm going to apply this and set this a little bit with a little bit of powder, and then I'll be right back. So now we're going to be moving on to eyes, and I picked up the Opposites Attract eyeshadow palette. They had one that was more, let me just open it so I can show you. They had one that was more of your neutrals, kind of like everyday, but that was sold out at the time. And so we'll see how these work and how they perform and wear throughout the day. And if I'm impressed enough, then I may actually try some of the other palettes. Like I think they have another one. I forget what the one that was sold out, what it's called, but it has your everyday kind of natural colors. And then this one has like your warm tones, if you can kind of see. You have one side that's more warm, which is here, and then you have some cooler colors, some grays, some purples, and then you have this fun kind of dark green up here that is called Wise. And you have a good mixture of mattes. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shimmers, and the rest are mattes, which is pretty impressive because most drugstore palettes give you more shimmers and not enough mattes, but here you get a good selection of mattes and shimmer. I'm going to first start with a color called Fresh, which is a matte, like light buttercream yellow color, and I'm going to use that over my lids just to make sure that I have set very well my primer underneath. So for the crease, I think I'm going to start with something that's quite light, and I'm going to go with this one here. It's called Witty, and this is a very light tan color, and I'm going to use just a big fluffy crease brush and go into the crease. Whoa. Okay. I was not expecting that. Do you see that? That's crazy. Holy moly. I think I got this palette on sale, which is even more impressive than paying the full $14. But even so, $14 is... It's like, how do they give you such good quality at that price point? If you haven't tried their bite-size eyeshadows, they're like $3 for little mini quads. You should definitely try those. I have 2 of them. I'll list the ones that I have down below in the description box, and those are so good. Then I'm going to take that same crease brush, and I'm wiping it off really well, and I'm going to go back in with that Fresh, which is that matte buttercream color, and I'm going to go around the edges of that and make sure I blend it, because it's a little sloppy here today. So for the lid, I'm going in with Clever, which is like a grayish with a purple undertone, so it's going to play, I think, quite well with some of these purple shades that I think I am going to go for today. So I'm going to take that color, and I'm going to apply it to my lids. It's actually quite nice. Very metallic looking. I'm going to apply this all over my lid, just using a small eyeshadow brush. I'm going to go back in with that crease brush that I used earlier and go around the edges with nothing on there. I have not picked up any additional product. I just want to continue blending as I add layers of color. It's actually pretty, but there is fallout, so I will let you know that if you do your makeup first, you may have to kind of do a little sweeping action as you apply layers, but it's honestly not bad. I've had worse from much more expensive brands. So that color is quite nice, and I'm going to move on to, I think, the lower lash line and do some of those purple shades. Chill color, which is the purple, and I'm using a small eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to use the very tip of that to apply that to my lower lash line. So it's more of like a, kind of like a jewel tone purpley shade to add some pop of color and then a little bit of interest to the look. I feel like it's really pretty to do little pops of color, and it's something that I have not done in a while. And when I do it, I feel like I should do it more often. And this one is showing up really nicely. The shade called Easy Going, which is the matte purple. I'm picking that up on a pencil brush. And I'm going to go right underneath to not only add a little bit more purple, but to help blend out the edges of Chill. And I'm not picking up very much at all. And then I think I'm going to pick up that same Witty shade that I have in my crease, and that's going to go a little bit underneath, just to kind of pull in some more of that kind of smoky vibe that I have on the upper lid area. I want to pull that down. Let's see, I think I'm going to use, since I don't have an eyeliner, I think I'm going to use some of the darker shades. So you can use the shade called Genuine for eyeliner because it's a dark, like a really dark graphite gray, almost black. And then you have the shade called Smooth, which is more of like a reddish brown color that you could do as well. But I think I'm going to go in with Genuine with an angled brush. Soften the edges of that color with a smaller pencil style brush, just a little bit, but that color is very, very pigmented. So for the inner corner, I think I'm going to use, got some fallout from some of the darker shades. I'm going to use a shade called Low Key, which is the icy white shade that's in the palette. And this is going to be my inner corner highlight. Oh, that's interesting. It's deceiving. This is cool. It looks like an icy white, but it has a pink duochrome to it. So it has a shift, and it is so pretty. Wow, I like that. That was unexpected. I thought it was just going to be like an icy kind of ivory color. But a little pink, a little purple, a little kind of graphite gray with some purpley undertones, some smoky colors. So far, so good. I think I'm going to take a moment to pause and clean up some of this fallout. Again, with the same brush that I used to set my under eye area. I'm going to just kind of lift some of this. I'm going to take that same low key color and I'm going to apply that to the inner portion of my eye. Should have done this first before eyeliner, but it's okay. Just to add a little bit of something, and the contrast between this color and my lid shade, that graphite color, it's almost like this lighter color is pulling out the purple undertones from the Clever shades. It's really nice. Add a little bit of an interesting element to the look. So to finish the look off, I'm going to tightline and then do a little bit of mascara, and then I'll be back so we can finish the look with a lip product from E.L.F. that I'm super excited to try. Alright, so mascara is done, and I feel like everything sort of comes together. I love the effect that mascara gives the eyes. I feel like it's that final touch that brings everything together. So for lips, I'm going to use the Or Die Lip Balm in the shade called Tough Cookie, and I only chose one because I've never tried these and I wanted to see if they're pigmented or if it's more of just like a balm. And this says 100% vegan and cruelty free. So I have taken out some of it, and it seems to have quite a bit of pigment. I'll show you on my wrist there, because my hands are all beat up from Thanksgiving, cleaning, sanitizing counters, messing with the turkey, and washing my hands so much for food prep that my hands look disgusting. So I'm just going to take a little bit of it. It's quite thick of a texture. Alright, so there you have it. It's got some pigment, but the formula is very thick and very rich feeling. But it's not sticky, and it's not a formula that would feel kind of annoying after some time of it being super sticky. I feel like it's a really good, comfortable formula. And the color is actually quite nice. I feel like it's an everyday kind of color that I can use with a lot of different looks. And they do have shades that are a little bit deeper. They have one that's more clear. They have pinker tones. So if you're interested in those kinds of tones, they do have some options for you to choose from. Alright, so that is the completed look. I hope you guys enjoyed that, trying as many E.L.F. products as I could. So I just wanted to do a little bit of a recap of some of the things that I used. Blush and bronzer, I've talked about these before. These are the only two that I own in that range. So I do like them, and I think that they're really great. This is one of my favorite drugstore bronzers. I did a video on my top bronzers from the drugstore. They are all affordable, and they're under a certain price point. So they're really great quality for very minimal amount of money, and they perform so great. And this was one of the ones that I shared in that video. And I do like these, and if you see any kind of weird prints on it, I just put some oil on my hands because they're so dry, so that's why some of the fingerprints on it. But I do like them. They're incredibly pigmented, and they work really great over foundation. They blend quite nicely. I've never had issues with those. The Halo Glow is something I've recommended before. It's got a soft sheen to it where it makes the skin look healthy and vibrant. It's not glittery. It's not super glowy. It's not even a highlighting kind of product. The newer products that I tried in today's video, like the matte setting powder and the light pink shade, I don't feel like it did a whole lot of brightening for my face or for my under eye area. But again, the tone is very, very light, and that's kind of what you'll see with these light pink brightening powders. They're very, very minimal with the tint that they provide, and they kind of almost look like a translucent powder, but I thought I'd take a chance because it's E.L.F. and it's really affordable. So I'll continue to use it because it set my under eye area just fine. And speaking of under eye area, the Flawless Brightening Concealer, it did brighten, and I do feel like I can pull off this color, which is the shade called 15W Fair. And I do like the whole applicator of the pen style. I just, you know, when you get to a certain point, you're not going to know how much you have left, and I talked about that in the video as I was applying it. But I do like the whole, you know, pen style. You click it, you apply it. I've used products like this before, but I do like it, and it's one of their newer products, and it had some pigment. I wouldn't say this is full coverage by any means. I would say this is a light to medium, more of like an everyday kind of coverage, or if you are wanting something to brighten and then go over with concealer and kind of have that brightening. I wouldn't say color correcting unless you get the light pink shade, which is the first color, and that one might be more of a color correcting for some under eye areas, but this is more of a little bit of brightness. You can use it in the inner corner after your concealer. You can mix it with your concealer to brighten it if you wanted to. So it's really affordable and just a few bucks, and I do feel like the formula is pretty good. So I'm impressed with that, and I'll continue to use that in videos and also off camera. The lip balm, this is great. I like the way it feels, how nourishing it looks. I like the fact that it has a good amount of pigment, so I don't feel like I need to use any other lip products with it, and I do recommend that. First impressions with that is really amazing. As far as the complexion products, the Puff Puff Primer, I'll have to continue using this to see if it really does anything for my skin, if there's really any benefit or if it's just like a regular primer. But it did feel quite hydrating, and I did use quite a bit of it because it is quite thick. So keep that in mind if you decide to get that skincare kit. You will go through this. This is a little tiny tube anyways, but I like how that kit for skincare included something for makeup prep, which is what this is meant for. So I will continue using that. It's not an amazing product, not blowing my socks off just yet, but it's not something that was terrible. So for the foundation, the shade 120 Pro I feel like was a little too light. It's one shade lighter, but I feel like with the blush and the bronzer, concealer and all that kind of stuff, I feel like it sort of pulled everything together and it's fine. I would have preferred another like one shade darker, but it's okay. I'd rather have it light and add bronzer than it be too dark or too orange or too pink and then having issues with trying to make that work, because that is a little bit more difficult than having lighter foundation with the right undertone. And this is a neutral undertone. It did accentuate the dry areas and the like the flaky skin that I'm dealing with, but I've mentioned that before in previous videos. It's something that I have been dealing with this pregnancy, having drier skin than the driest skin that I've ever experienced in my life. So it's an adjustment, and I think that foundations are just going to cling to those areas and magnify the way that looks. It could also be the primer that's underneath that sort of caused it to look like it was moving and kind of separating. It's looking cakey and like breaking up a little bit around my chin area. But I did have to add a lot of product to that area because I'm having a lot of texture and a lot of breakouts and just redness. I had a scratch from my daughter this morning, so I had to cover that. So I did use quite a bit more product than I normally would have, so that could also play into it. But I will be doing a follow-up with you guys on this and letting you guys know how it works as I continue to use it. And then finally, the Opposites Attract eyeshadow palette. I did stick to the cooler tones today to do something smoky with a little bit of a pop of color, which I think it came out quite well, and I'm actually so far thoroughly impressed with the pigmentation of this palette for just being a few bucks. It's under $15, and I am impressed, and I really enjoy the way they went on, how they blended. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they don't fade or muddy throughout the rest of the day. So if that happens, then I will put a note in the description box with the list of products if that ends up happening. But so far, I'm impressed, and I'm looking forward to trying some of the warmer tones in that palette. The Wow Brow. I forgot to mention this with the brow products. You guys know I like the Instant Lift $2 brow pencil. It's amazing. Recommended to everyone. The Wow Brow in the shade Brunette seems to be a little warm, but I'm going to try just this without a brow pencil underneath to see how that looks first, and then kind of gauge if it's going to be something that I'm going to reach for and use again. But it did have a little bit of pigment and a little bit of a tint, so that's quite nice. And it could be one of those like everyday, just quick tint and moisturizer, something through the brows, a little mascara kind of product for me. So that might be something to try and then let you guys know how that ends up working out for me. But that is it. Those are all the products that I used today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful if you were interested in some of their newer releases, or if you were interested in palette and what the quality was like. I've been impressed with it so far, but I will be using it off camera, and you'll probably see it again in a future tutorial. So thank you so much for joining me for this video. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Follow me on Instagram. Hope to see you there. Take care, and I'll catch you in my next video.